I thought I'd do another snippet on toys and books and games and things like that. So here we go. Uh, I had a couple of dolls who were sort of about about the size of my arm from my elbow to my hand, each of them. One was a little baby one, and one was a walkie-talkie one with long hair. But one of the things I didn't play with them very much, but what I did do when I learnt to knit was to make them clothes. I used to knit them clothes. I used to get some old woolen clothes that were lying around, that were going to be thrown away, pull out all the knitting and wash the wool and, in sort of big hanks, and then wind it into balls and then knit with it. So it wasn't costing any money. And I used to make these clothes. I think quite a few of them were in a very funny shade of orangey browny reddy colour, because I can visualise them in my memory. And they were a bit of a strange colour, but I must have unravelled a jumper that was given to me for that purpose. And I used to like knitting, so I did that. And I made them little jumpers, little cardigans, little skirts, little dresses, and that was it really. I didn't play with them once I'd made things for them. Then I'd pull that out and make a different one with a different pattern or something. But I made up the patterns. So I suppose that was fairly creative really, because I wasn't following a knitting pattern to do it. I was just doing what I thought would work, and it did. So that was okay. I think I probably made them hats as well, things like that, whatever, anyway. um, I I often tried to play with some of my brother's toys when he wasn't around, and nobody could tell me off about it. And one of the things he had that I thought was absolutely brilliant was a set of Meccano, which are like metal struts and metal things and pulleys and all sorts of things that you can make machinery out of. You could, I mean, I used to play with that and put things together and sort of make things that would run along the carpet if I pushed them. I didn't have any motors or anything like that, so I couldn't make them run without being pushed. But they were okay. Um, and another thing he had was a house building kit, and I can't remember what it was called, but it came in. There were sort of green bases with lots of holes in a grid. So there's like, if you imagine a chessboard or a drafts board, there were holes like where the vertical lines cross the horizontal lines, just little holes, and there were little metal poles that fitted into those holes, and if you put them the right distance apart, you could slide down a block of bricks between two poles, and then a block of bricks between the next two poles, and there were windows and doors and things like that, and you could make your house, build it whatever you wanted it to look like, and then there were roofs that you could fit on the top. I used to think that was good fun, but I could only play with that when my brother wasn't around as well, because he didn't like me touching anything of his. I'd never broke anything of his, but he didn't like it if I'd touched it. So I waited till he wasn't there. He went to school before I did because he was 3 years older than me, so I had some time when I was at home and he wasn't, and that's when I used to play with his things. Um, we did have some stacking beakers like you had, where you get like a beaker without a hand, like a, a stacking beaker, like without handles, just like a plastic container, and they come in different sizes and you could stack them up. So I used to play with those when I was very little, like you played with yours when you were little, Freya. Um, and one thing that we did have that I was allowed to share when my brother wasn't on it, um, was a swing in the garage. There was a beam across the garage, like there are beams across my garage here. Um, and when my brother was young, my father had fitted up a swing with quite thick ropes coming down and a wooden board, and you could hook the swing onto hooks on the beam, so that you took it off when he was driving the car into the garage, so the swing didn't hit the car. And then you could put it back on again when the car wasn't there. And I used to go and sit on that swing and swing backwards and forwards for hours with the garage door open, so I could get, sit and watch the world going past, which wasn't very interesting. But I used to love swinging backwards and forwards on my own swing. It wasn't my own swing, it was the family's swing. And that was fun. One of the things I had was a yo-yo. I don't know if you've got a yo-yo, but I got very good at getting the yo-yo to unroll itself and roll back up again, and you could throw it sideways and ups and downs and all sorts of swirling rounds and do all sorts of things with a yo-yo. I used to enjoy playing with that. Lots of things I was playing on my own, of course. I learned quite early on to play drafts on a black and white checked board. I think you've played this where you have black drafts, like little discs. Well, they vary in size, but the ones we had were about from my knuckle there to the top of my finger in diameter, so about as wide as my mouth in diameter. That big. And there were black ones and white ones, and the idea was to try and get in a situation where you could jump over the opposite colour to the colour you were playing, and then you could take that one off the board, and it was the first person to take everybody else's, well, the other person's colour drafts off the board. That the person who won was the person who still had some left on the board. That was badly explained, but I'm sure you've learned how to play it already anyway. But we played drafts. What else did I have? I've got a list here. Oh, a spinning top. I've never seen you playing with a spinning top. There were some different types of spinning tops. There were some sort of metal ones, which were sort of brightly coloured, and a bit about the size of not a dinner plate and not a little side plate, but the middle-sized plates, about that big in diameter. And it had a spindle down the middle of it with a handle on that you could push up and down, and that pumped it up a bit, and then you could let go and it spun round and round and round, and the colours on it all merged in together as it was spinning quickly. Instead of being separate colours, you could merge them all together. And I used to play with one of those for a bit, but I liked a little wooden top that I had, which was not as big as it was probably as long as my finger from the base of that finger, from the base to the top, and about as wide as 3 fingers. So it's a bit that sort of size and shape, those 3 fingers all stuck together. And it was round at the top, and it went to a point which was at the bottom. So it's sort of like that, but without the hand attached. And it had a stick with a bit of string attached to one end, and you wrap the string round a groove just beneath the top of the spinning top, and you wrapped it round, and then you went and that made it go round and round and round, and it sort of landed on the path or drive or whatever and spun on its own for a bit, and then you did it again. But what you could do with that was use coloured chalks and put your own patterns on it and see what happened to them when it was spinning round. I used to enjoy that as well. So that was the spinning top and the whip and top. And we had skipping ropes as well. I don't think my brother ever played skipping ropes, so I was okay with those. I could play with those, and the spinning tops as well, and the knitting. He never did that either, so I was okay with all of those things. And skipping ropes, I used to had one that was just for me, and I used to just jump up and do double skip. So I jumped over the rope as it went round twice, one jump, two lots of rope. And sometimes I could get it round 3 times on one jump. And doing all sorts of different ways of skipping. Lots of people my age then, I was less than 11, I think. I was between 5 and 11, I would expect, when I was skipping like this. Lots of people, my friends, skipped as well, and we all tried to do different clever things when we were skipping. Sort of not like gymnastics, but like, jumping over the rope in different ways and seeing who could do the most spins of the rope in one jump. But we also had longer ropes, which were for playing in a group. And you have one person each end of the long rope, and they would spin, sort of do it round, so the rope was going round and round. And one person might be stood in the middle, jumping up and down. Then another person would go in and join in, jumping up and down. Another person would go in and join in. You have a few people all jumping on the same skipping rope, over the same skipping rope. And you could have that as like a team game. And if somebody sort of caught the rope and it stopped because your leg was in the way and your foot was on the ground, then the team who were skipping then were out, and the other team could come in and they could go skip for a bit. Two of the team who'd failed, who'd stopped the rope, had the two ends of the rope. And again, with that one, you could do double. One jump over 2 spins of the rope, or one jump over 3 spins of the rope. And those were fun. I played those with friends who lived in the street or friends in the school playground, which was fun. I used to do a bit of gymnastics, I suppose you'd call it, because I used to love doing cartwheels and walking on my hands with my legs up in the air. I can't do it now. Can't do it at all now. I used to love going cartwheels, so I don't know if you've tried those yet, Freya, but I was quite an active young girl, really. Did lots of things that I just chose to do because it was fun and I was enjoying it and it felt good. And that's all I can think of for now, so I'll finish this one. Bye.